Good evening, and welcome to the North Georgia GMRS Regional Net. Tonight we're live from Studio Vanguard, and we are linked in with the following repeaters.
We have Flagship, Columbus, McDonough, Noonan, Rome, Lula, Toccoa, Watkinsville, Zebulon, Peachtree, Salicoa Ridge, Dallas, Ocala, White Oak Mountain, Lookout Mountain, Fort Mountain, Cades Cove, Chattanooga, Georgetown, and Ooltewah.
Well, the list gets even longer. It sounds longer with you reading it, so very good, very good. Tonight, our RF coverage is larger than the area covered by most commercial radio and TV stations. This net takes place every Thursday evening at 7:30 p.m. I'd like to thank all of you who've made the North Georgia GMRS the most expansive and active GMRS network in the country. Your net control tonight is Atlanta 946 WQYR 514. My name is Justin.
WREB 450, Atlanta 26. And this is Flip.
And WRWM 344, Blue Ridge 63. My name is Mike.
And Atlanta 750, WRMR 367. My name is Jeff.
On the net, you can talk about your day's activities, radio equipment, or anything you think we'd like to hear about. This is a family-based network, so we encourage you to get your family involved. Guest check-ins are welcome from anyone with a valid FCC call sign. Once the floor is open, it is permissible to address other members of the net by the name or tactical unit number. Your FCC call sign is only required when you sign in and sign out of the net. Also, you can tune in to the YouTube channel and follow along, or even better, tune in after the net to watch your appearance on the network and hear how your radio sounds to us right here in Studio Vanguard. Be sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment so we know you're watching. These interactions mean the most to help our new channel grow. Well, let's go next to, well, we do need to talk about our topic. I think tonight our topic is Hamshack Hotline, Mesh-tastic, and other nerdy radio gadgets and stuff.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
We could be here a while.
Well, I mean, based on our check-ins, I don't think that'll happen, but that could change with our next round. So with that in mind, that's our topic tonight. Stick around, and if you need to change your check-in from in and out because you're driven to engage in this subject, by all means, go ahead and do that when we take check-ins. But for now, let's catch up with Kate.
Good evening, everyone. This is WRMR 367, Atlanta 751, Kate from high atop Mount Waleski, live in Studio C with this week's Catch Up with Kate. For those on our Tennessee repeaters, check out the Skywarn Net on Tuesday evening. Have a computer handy to follow along, and we would like to thank Chattanooga 69, Ronnie, Chattanooga 84, Jim, and Chattanooga 118, Stuart. For all of our new members, please advise that there is an ERC net held on every Wednesday evening. The ERC net is a closed net, and it is for ERC members only. Only those with an ERC TAC number may check in. For more information about the ERC net, call out to ERC Net Control at the conclusion of the ERC net. The next Rabbit Hole Net is on Sunday, November 10th, and the topic is an open floor discussion. Share your ideas, ask questions regarding anything prepping related. Early check-ins are at 7 p.m., and the net begins at 7:30. That is this coming weekend, and they would love for you to check in and join on the discussion. Also, the Kids Net will be returning this Saturday at 7, so that will be exciting. So be sure to join in and get your youth involved to check in with John and Victoria and Little John and see what the next Kids Net topic is. Let me break. Also happening this weekend is the West Side Luncheon. This Saturday at 11 a.m., hang out with your Rabbit Hole Net controllers and friends at Taco Mac, located at 2650 Dallas Highway, Suite 110 in Marietta. Now, they do their best to make sure they have enough seating together for all who would like to join, so please email rabbithole@nggmrs.org and let them know that you will be there. The Kennesaw Gathering meets at noon for lunch on the second Tuesday of each month at Old Town Tavern and Grill, located at 2500 Cobb Parkway Northwest, around the block from McCollum Airport. Please reach out to Ed, Atlanta 557, on the air, or via email at wrqg806@gmail.com if you're planning to attend, so we have enough seats for all. Let me break. The Chattanooga lunch is coming up soon, so get ready to meet the folks that you talk to. On November 15th, the lunch will be held at Sugar's Ribs. That is at 2450 15th Avenue at noon. Come on out and join us all. Thank you to Ronnie, Chat 69, Jim, Chat 84, and Stuart, Chat 118. The Peachtree Corners Lunch Bunch will be gathering Saturday, November 16th, around noontime at JR's Log Cabin Restaurant. It is a very welcoming, rustic, laid-back atmosphere, perfect for connecting with one another and building lasting friendships. Breakfast or lunch is available, and there is something for everyone. For more details or to RSVP, please reach out to Pamela, Atlanta 849. The Northeast Bunch will hold their monthly lunch meetup on Wednesday, November 20th at 11 a.m. They will be at the usual place, Rooster's Cafe in Dahlonega, Georgia. If the weather is nice, we can be found on the patio. All North Georgia members are welcome. For information, please contact Atlanta 403 Bobby or Gainesville 44 Joe. And if you have any questions, suggestions, or spicy announcements for us to catch up on, send me a note at kate@nggmrs.org, and we will be sure to get your announcements on the air. We are North Georgia GMRS Network. This is WRMR 367, Atlanta 751. My name is Kate, and now back to Net Control.
All right. Thank you for all those announcements. It seems like it's like a menu. There's so many places to eat at. So many opportunities for North Georgia GMRS members and guests and friends to gather and enjoy a meal together and talk about, well, we talk about radio stuff, right?
Right.
Oh, well, I've been to many of those lunches, and oftentimes the last thing we talk about is radio. We talk about, everything else and, what's going on in our lives, what's happening with our kids, what's happening with our friends, what's happening in the world, current events and news and stuff. It's just nice to have a face-to-face environment where you can have a conversation with someone and not be concerned with whether or not you're allowed to talk about that on the air.
I need to start the in-town bunch, but I think I'm the only one inside the perimeter.
I don't know that that's true, but I think you are an exclusive group. But in any case, lots of announcements, lots of places to eat. And I've got to say thanks to Kate because I threw one in there as she was giving the announcements.
It was inaudible.
And she picked it up as though it had been there all along. It was unrehearsed. It was a surprise to her and to me. But we should have had that in the script and didn't. But Kate rocked it. Did
she
you
didn't
even
miss
realize?
a beat. No.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, so as she was reading part of the script, I was typing just a quick note, and then she ad-libbed most of that around.
Amazing.
So she did a fantastic job. Way to go, Kate. All right, with that in mind, I think next it's time for Julie's Tips.
This is WQIR 514 Atlanta 947. My name is Julie with this week's new user tips and operating procedure segment. This week we'll talk about the importance of getting our youth involved. Now is the time to teach them the skills necessary to become a successful radio operator. Many skills that we lack as adults, such as how to pause momentarily after hitting the push to talk button before talking so as to allow for the repeaters to link up, or on-air etiquette, such as to pause momentarily before hitting the push to talk button and listen to see if there's a conversation already at play. I can't think of a better platform than GMRS to get them started. North Georgia GMRS encourages family involvement, so much so that we have a regularly scheduled youth net on the second Saturday of every month at 7 p.m. Our children thrive to be involved in whatever we're doing. This is the time to share our love and passion for the radio hobby. What a cool way to be able to spend time with them and teach them valuable skills. These skills will go a long way for emergency preparedness in case a natural disaster takes place or even a family emergency. Get your kids out in the yard and have them practice drills on Simplex. And get your kids involved in the youth net. This will get everyone comfortable talking on the mic and teach our children how to properly hold the button down while talking so not to have part of their transmission get lost. Let me break. Unlike amateur radio, GMRS is very family friendly in that you don't have to pass an exam in order to speak on the radio. Your GMRS license covers the entire family, so please take advantage of that and get your kids on the air. By encouraging your children to talk on the radio and fostering a love for the hobby, we are growing the next generation of radio hobby enthusiasts. These are just a few of the preferred practices of the North Georgia GMRS members, and these procedures are how we become the best operators on the nation's largest, most advanced repeater network. And remember, if you have any questions or suggestions for new user tips and operating procedures, send me a note at julie@nggmrs.org. We are North Georgia GMRS Network, and this is WQIR 514 Atlanta 947. My name is Julie. Good night, everyone.
All right. Well, thank you for that, Julie. Great timing, too, because the Youth Net is this Saturday. So for those that are listening, if you've got children or grandchildren that would have an interest, please plan on having them near the radio this coming Saturday at 7. John and Victoria and the kids will be hosting our monthly Youth Net, and this is a great opportunity to get our kids exposure and some airtime and a chance to get the youngest members of the North Georgia GMRS family some experience in operating radio. It's a great time to help them build habits, as Julie mentioned, and to instill in them, some of the operating techniques that make us the coolest network that there ever was. So that's very good stuff. Thanks, Julie, for those tips, and thanks, John and Victoria, for hosting the North Georgia GMRS Kids Net this Saturday at 7. Do we have any other announcements that we need to make? Did we?
Didn't you want to talk about renewals?
Did we put up any new repeaters in the last week? Is this like the first time we haven't?
Yeah, but didn't you want to talk about renewals?
Well, renewals is a thing. So let me break and let's come back and talk about membership renewals. So a question that we're getting quite a lot, we've answered quite a few emails to the effect that if I become a member now, am I going to have to renew in January? And if you become a member now, your membership will cover the remainder of 2024 and all of 2025. Your renewal will be due the 1st of January in 2026. So it's just too close to the end of the year for us to ask anyone to make a large contribution and turn around and ask again just a couple of months later to do that. So we do extend this window of time. We've done it for many years now. I don't know that we've done it every year, but we've done it for many years, and we'll probably continue. So in October, November, December, if you become a member during that period of time, your membership will cover the following year. So you won't be paying an entire membership. Many people ask why we don't prorate the memberships. It's just too much to manage. We're all volunteers here. None of us are getting paid to manage subscriptions. It's too hard to keep track of. If you became a member in June, your renewal being due in the following June, we really need to keep it simple and manage our memberships throughout the calendar year. So anyone who became a member earlier this year will need to take a look at renewing in January if your membership was earlier than October.
So you're saying buy 13 and a half months for the price of 12.
That is definitely one way to look at it. So there is that little bonus opportunity right there.
Well, extra time.
A little more bang for the buck. And if you can make that happen, the other thing to consider is if you just need to make your renewal, go ahead and renew now, because money gets tight around the holidays, and if we don't get your renewal, come January 1, we will go through the roster, and anybody that hasn't renewed, we're going to make those TAC numbers available for new members. So every year we have a certain number of memberships that folks drop out because it was cool for a minute, but they're on to other things, and that's fine. Let me break. We'll come right back. And when that happens, we would say thanks for the support, and thank you for the contribution that you made to the network for the time that you were here. We expect to see a certain number of people that do not return to the ranks of the roster in 2025. But we don't know if that's you or you just forgot and haven't paid yet. So I want to ask that you make an effort to get your renewal in before the end of the year so that you can keep your tactical unit number, because if we give your tactical unit number away, then we're not getting it back for you. So that's caused some concern and has upset people in the past. We've talked about it in the past, but I want to make sure that folks understand that you do need to renew before the end of the year.
Well, how do I know if I need to renew or not? Like, I might have signed up at the end of September. It might have been the beginning of October. How do I know?
Well, if you take a look at the membership roster, it will indicate your. I'll have to look at that myself because I'm escaped as to what that looks like.
In between the region and the TAC number. So, for example, Atlanta, and then there's a column with a date, and then your TAC number. So if it says 2024, that means December of 2024, you need to renew. If it says 2025, you are good till December of 2025.
So there you go. A quick look at the North Georgia GMRS roster will show you where you stand in relationship to your renewal status. So, and if there's an error, if you believe that your membership should be beyond the end of 2024, send us a note and let us know. Also, if you've experienced any kind of a hardship, if your employment situation has changed, your housing situation is changing, whatever that might be, communicate with us. If you intend to remain a member of North Georgia GMRS Network, but you just don't have the funding available at the moment, let us know. We do have a couple of folks that have donated. What would you call that? A sponsorship? money's made available for the purpose of covering members that may not have the funds. So reach out to us. You can do that discreetly either by sending an email to gary@NGGMRS.org. That's the most discreet way. If you send me an email, I can also communicate the need and arrange for that. But I'm also going to share that with Gary. So ultimately, if you communicate with Gary, I'm not going to know anything about it. So there again, if you're having hardships for whatever financial reason, that'd be the way to go. Let me break. But yeah, we've seen quite a lot of renewals. We've seen quite a lot of new members in this last little bit. We'd like to see the renewals continue, and be sure that anybody that wants to stay a member of the North Georgia GMRS Regional Network, well, the network, definitely want you to stay and get that renewal in so that we don't leave anybody behind. All right, what else do we have, Jeff? I'm sure there's something I've forgotten.
I think that's it.
Yeah, all right. All right, then. Well, with that in mind, tonight's topic is Hamshack Hotline, Meshtastic, and other nerdy things that you might be involved in relationship to radio. So Hamshack Hotline is a cool thing. For those that don't know what that is, it is a ham radio specific thing. But with that, you can, with a specific type of VoIP style phone, you can register that phone through the Hamshack Hotline network, and that becomes a kind of a private line phone that you can use to reach out to other hams. It's a novelty, honestly. It's not, you can't make phone calls. You can't call 911 on it. You can't call regular people or cell phone numbers or things like that on it. It's just specifically to be able to call from one ham to another. And it's
one shack to another.
Yeah, one shack to another. And it's a very cool thing, but it's very limited in its scope and its function. Now, there are service providers that you can pay to have a SIP that will allow interconnectivity with the telephone network. Hamshack Hotline is a donation-based system, so you provide them with whatever amount that you choose to donate, and they'll provide you with the connectivity and a phone number. And if you got in early enough, Flip, do you how many digits are in your phone number?
I think it's 5.
I have
like
a
that.
5-digit too. It's 11319.
You have to buy one of the VoIP phones that are just like a Cisco phone, but you can get those on eBay for like, I don't know, $25 or something like that.
Yeah, about that.
And then you just plug it in, and once you're registered, you can call anybody shack you want. But
Yeah.
whether they answer or not is another question.
I've dialed wrong numbers and talked to people in England.
Oh,
and
really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Completely random. And when you're on a regular phone and you dial a wrong number, you get kind of snarky hang-ups, and you're wasting my time. But if you dial a wrong number and you call somebody's ham shack, you're probably going to end up in a 20-minute conversation.
Yeah. Hey, somebody's calling me.
It's kind of funny. But definitely, if that's something that you're interested in, you can go to hamshackhotline.org, and you can find out more information about that. And of course, we've talked at length about Meshtastic. Jeff says I have to break. In fact, we held a whole net not that long ago. Did we live stream that net? Do you remember what episode that was? We could probably look it up.
I don't, but I can look.
But
Stand by.
the Hamshack, the
Meshtastic.
Meshtastic net was a lot of fun. And there again, it's not a GMRS specific thing. With Meshtastic, you don't really even need a radio license. It's an unlicensed portion of the 900 megahertz band. It's very low power. It is a radio. It's a data radio thing. It's low bandwidth, low power, but it's a neat way to be able to send some simple messaging. And Jeff and I have experimented with it, and we're able to successfully pass messages from Woodstock to Waleska, not necessarily through the mesh network because we had to hop over into the internet world to complete that packet transfer, but but we got it done, and so it does work. And the idea is that you can send low baud rate, low bandwidth data, really anywhere, and have some independence from the internet. Ideally, if there's enough users in the Meshtastic world, we could make hops across mesh device to mesh device to mesh device, and eventually get a message sent to wherever it needs to go, which is kind of the concept that Flip is here to talk about tonight with the golden packet.
Yeah. I had a quick question on Meshtastic though. First, is there what kind of equipment do you need to do that? I mean, is there a lot of different equipment, or is it just one type of?
There's a handful of devices that are out there, but they're basically LoRa, LORA,
Okay.
low power, short range radios. And
Are they ham only, or I mean, do you have to have a license?
they're unlicensed. However, if you have a license, you can operate at a higher power,
You can go up to 10 watts on that.
up to 10 watts. But these are milliwatt devices typically.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, you don't need a GMRS license or a ham license. You can just buy the device, get it programmed, and get on with it. There are repeaters you can configure with them as a repeater, and you can stick it up on a pole with a solar panel. They're very low power, so you can power them with solar panels, and it can just stand up there and be a repeater
Yeah.
for you and for others in the region, in the area.
You had asked what our episode was for the Meshtastic Net. I did find that. For those that want to check it out on YouTube and watch the replay, you'll be looking for episode 28. That was approximately 3 months ago.
Very good. So episode 28 was our Meshtastic episode. Let's break. But it's surprising how much range these devices can have. I took my device to the office in Midtown a couple of months ago, and just had it sitting on my desk, and had it, no internet connectivity, just strictly RF, and that device had found 20 or 30 nearby devices. Several of them were at Georgia Tech. 10 or so of them were there, but there were other devices in other nearby places. 6, 7, 8, 10 blocks away from the building. So even though it's a very low power, digital traffic on a low power device like that has a surprising range.
Doesn't take much.
Yeah. So when you're listening to a rough copy on the GMRS network, and you can hear a lot of static, you can hear a voice in the back there somewhere, and you're having a really hard time picking it out. Well, digital transmissions can pick that signal up through that noise, and with data correction, there's a way of reconstructing a data packet, even if you don't get the whole thing, through error corrections. And so you have that working for you, and then you just have the ability for the receiver to engage a kind of a noise signal processing, noise cancellation protocol, where it can actually pull signal through the noise and be able to read the message in a way that we have a tough time when there's a lot of static and hiss and popping happening with our audio. So neat stuff. But Flip, let's talk a little bit about the golden packet. Let's break and come back to that.
Yeah. So I guess to back up, APRS. I don't know if many people have heard of that. It's automated packet reporting system, and it does allow. It's a ham-based protocol that is digital, and it goes over RF, and it is a way to forward not just your location for tracking or whatever, but also messages. So it's also a message system. And APRS was formed by, the protocol was created by this gentleman who was a Georgia Tech engineer, actually, 20-year Navy veteran. His name is Bob Bruninga, no longer alive, unfortunately, but great system, and it's often used for a lot of different things. But one of the things that we do with it, it's an experimental effort on the East Coast called the Appalachian Trail Golden Packet. And so 1 weekend a year, one Saturday a year, we in the summer mostly, because up in Maine it gets pretty cold once you get into fall. So we try to do it in July, and it's for a few hours. We set up 17 different stations all the way up and down the Appalachian Trail, and try to, using VHF radio signals, trying to send APRS packets and then digipeating them all the way up the trail. So the golden packet is if we can get a packet to go all the way from Maine down here to Springer Mountain. I operate the Springer Mountain station for that event, and it's a lot of fun. It's a very interesting experiment. Honestly, for the last few years, we've not been successful because, if you think about it, you have to get 17 different groups of people, and all the equipment out there, and you can't have anything go wrong. You can't have somebody's battery not work or whatever. And sure enough, it's very, very difficult to get it to work. But it's a pretty fun experiment. It's a lot of fun. So.
Well, that's very cool. And, the idea of being able to pass a message across such a great distance like that, that's a great thing to experiment with. And, I mean, we've come so far. I mean, it's not that long ago we didn't even bother with simplex. I mean, we're a repeater group. What do we care about simplex, right?
Yeah.
But the reality is that if we get into a situation where the conventional networks have failed, and GMRS is the reliable field of communications that we have, simplex is going to become very important. And tools like these, and the developing the technique to be able to pass that data, is how we're going to be able to get news from one part of the country to another. And we do rely on amateur radio quite a lot. Let me break. We do rely on amateur radio quite a lot during natural disasters, and I mean, countless times we've seen hurricane events in the Caribbean, in the here in the coastal parts of the country, and then this time inland, where the hurricane has just done crazy amounts of damage, and phones don't work, power's out. The communications tools that we come to rely on, the internet's down. Those communications methods that we have are not going to happen. And in the Carolinas, where you're in that mountainous region, even GMRS is going to have a lot of severe limits. But if that's what you've got, and you know who your GMRS contacts are because you've engaged regularly in the Friday night Simplex Challenge, then you're going to have a much better chance of being able to access assistance. Or if you've come through the storm in pretty good shape, you're going to be in a much better position to offer assistance through GMRS radio than through most formats. Mm-hmm. But there again, when we need news of something that happened in the Caribbean, something that happened in the Bahamas, something that happened in Puerto Rico, something that happened in Mexico, amateur radio, time and again, is the tool that provides for that communication. And we can spread the word that family members are or are not okay, and we can make those contacts happen, and then offer that assuredness of the state of things when you've got family involved in that area. So I'm sure that in the North Carolina area there were a lot of people that were concerned about family members, and having communication of some kind made a difference. But that's the gist of this, and these are the things that we should be practicing as methods of alternative communications, because it's all just exactly that. And the golden packet is a fantastic exercise, and maybe that's something we should consider. I know Dana has explored that here with just a telephone
Simplex.
game.
Yeah.
Play the telephone game over radio and see if you can get the message unchanged from origination to destination.
Right.
And it's much the same concept. It's just a different application.
The last time we played the relay, the message was, if at first you don't succeed, skydiving may not be for you. And that went from I don't know, somewhere south of here. Well, I forget how far north it made it. It wasn't quite to me in Blue Ridge. I remember that. I think it made it up near LJ. But it's fun. It's fun to do the relay and practice conveying communication simplex.
And for those of us that have become members, looking for alternative communications, these are the things that we should be practicing, so that when the time comes and we need to know who we can contact, where they are, and what resources they might have, that's going to become vitally important. So, and preparedness is all about knowing the answer to those questions before the waters rise. Let's break.
Simplex is great when you have a very localized area. I was thinking about we were driving around Yellowstone Park, which is a giant national park, and we were using simplex between us in the cars because there's no cell coverage. At least there was one when I was there, and so that was wonderful to have. And then if you're on a cruise out in the middle of the ocean somewhere, that's another place that you can use simplex, right? So it's a lot of fun to have that ability to keep communicating, even though you don't have normal forms of communications.
Yeah, and I don't know. I would imagine there's probably some level of cell service on those big cruise ships, but I would also imagine that could get jammed up pretty easily.
Or they want to charge you or something.
Yeah, and charges would be crazy. So if you had a way of reaching out to family members, because let's face it, those boats are pretty big, and you might not want everybody to. Probably everybody doesn't want to go to the pool at the same time, and everybody doesn't want to go to dinner at the same time, and maybe everybody doesn't want to go to the show or the same show. You guys want to see this show? Well, I want to go to the pool. That's the show I want to see. So having that communication difference is that alternative could be very valuable in a situation like that.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
Well, tell us more about the golden packet. So we're using APRS for that?
APRS, yes. And special equipment, Kenwood is really has a lot of advanced radios that handle APRS very well. So we're and we're actually not even using. There's a frequency for APRS that is kind of the North American frequency, and there's something called an I-gate, which is when, kind of like what you were talking about, the Mesh-tastic, you can get the signal to go into the internet and then come out somewhere else.
Right.
Well, APRS does the same thing. You can digipeat, which means your radio will receive a packet from somewhere, and then repeat it on, and that's RF, or you can have an I-gate, and your radio will receive the signal and put it into the internet, and then there's a group called APRS-IS, which funnels that information in the internet to different nodes, different mapping services and things like that. So it's a great packet of information. There's a lot of people that fire off APRS packets with weather data. If you look at an APRS map like APRS.fi on the internet, you'll see there's lots of weather stations that are out there. There's lots of people driving down the road in their car, beaconing out packets, just to track where they went, things like that.
Let's break.
Yeah. So the golden packet though is a great time. Everybody really enjoys the effort, trying to get together on a Saturday and try to get the signal to go. And like for example, I'm sitting there on top of Springer Mountain, and I have a buddy up at Klingman's Dome in Eastern Tennessee, and I can talk to him on the VHF channel because he's 3,000 feet above me, and it's a pretty much of a line of sight. And then I can hear him talking to the next station up, but I can't hear that station. So it just goes to show that, it is a relay system.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, countless times in amateur radio, you'll hear half of a conversation because the person they're talking to is too far away, but you can hear half of that conversation perfectly well. And you run into that quite a lot in amateur radio and probably in just about any long-range communications protocol. So, but very cool stuff. I know that once upon a time, we had in conjunction with the Coweta County Amateur Radio Club, we had engaged in some balloon launches, and 2 in particular. There was one where we had launched a weather balloon, and the payload carried a amateur radio repeater, a parrot-style repeater,
Okay.
and also a GMRS repeater. So it was an opportunity for the membership, wherever you were, on the range of the North Georgia GMRS membership, to reach out to this repeater. And it was really amazing because you could hear traffic from all over, from many states away, people trying to reach out to and make contact on that repeater. So a parrot repeater is one where you call into the repeater with a short message. Basically, oftentimes it's just your call sign, or maybe your name, your TAC number, and your call sign, like what we're familiar with doing. And then when you unkey, that parrot repeater will parrot that message right back to you. So you know that you made the repeater instantly because you hear that message come back to you as soon as you've said it. And then you can tell what your signal quality is because you can hear, basically it's going to play back exactly what it heard. So if you've got a crappy signal into that repeater, it's going to be garbage coming back to you. But if it was clean going in, you'll hear it very cleanly coming back, and that's neat.
Speaking of weather balloons, have you ever fooled with any of the satellite stuff? Trying to, there's ham radio satellites that float around, and you can bounce. You can call out to it, and it'll bounce back. And you can literally talk to people many states away.
Yes,
on
yes.
VHF.
So I played with that a little bit. I made contact with Joe Domaleski, Noonan 2.5. Let me break. Made contact with Joe on a very simple dual watch radio because I don't remember. I think it's VHF to the repeater and it's UHF coming back. I think is how that works. So you set your handheld radio up to transmit on VHF, but you're listening on UHF. And I've made contact with Joe Domaleski down in Noonan. In that region through a satellite. And it's a lot of fun to do. You have to pay attention because your window of opportunity is
when it's around
5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And so it'll come back in about 90 minutes, but it may not come back directly overhead. So when it comes back, it may be way off to the east or the west as it makes its north-south route. Or if it's going east-west, it may be way north or way south. So different satellites will have different orbits, and so you have to be kind of aware of that. But basically what you have is from horizon to horizon. And at the horizon, it's very, very sketchy as to whether you're going to get into it. But the higher it goes in your environment, then the better your signal will be to it because you have fewer things obstructing your signal. And so you have a 5 to 10 minute window that you can communicate with that satellite and anybody that's also listening to that satellite. And the same thing is true with the International Space Station. There's a repeater on board that sometimes is operational that you can bounce signals off of.
I got to try that sometime. I think that'll be my next experiment.
And every now and then, the International Space Station will have they will communicate with typically it's a middle school, but they'll communicate with a school group somewhere where an amateur radio club goes to the school with a bunch of equipment and sets it up as a temporary operating position. And they will then reach out to the space station at a prescribed time, and the students will have an opportunity to ask questions of the astronauts for that 10-minute period while it's in view. And that's a neat thing for the kids to experience.
Yeah.
But APRS is a cool thing in that balloon world. It's a cool thing. The other balloon launch that North Georgia GMRS was involved in was a balloon called a pico balloon. And a pico balloon is a rigid mylar balloon, whereas the weather balloon is a soft, flexible. The higher it goes, the bigger it gets. That balloon, the idea is that it will go to a certain altitude, and then the envelope becomes so large it's very, very thin, and it bursts. And then that whole package comes back down. and hopefully you can recover it. There's no recovery really on a Pico balloon. The Pico balloon is going to go up. The whole package may weigh 15, 18, 20 grams. Let me break. And it will catch the jet streams. And it will travel, hopefully, circumnavigate. These things are typically solar powered, so they go silent at night. So as the balloon drifts into darkness, the radio and the GPS and the APRS all go silent until they come back into sunlight. And hopefully the next morning, the balloon will wake up and start reporting its position, and its direction, temperature, altitude, and a number of other its speed typically, and those parameters can be tracked in APRS.phi. So you just typically would key in the call sign of the whatever particular balloon, whatever club launched that balloon, and be able to track it that way.
I wondered, talking about APRS, doesn't Flagship have some APRS repeating equipment?
I believe it has an iGate as well.
Okay.
So yes, Flagship does have an APRS radio.
So
at that
it's probably digipeating. So
Yes.
when it receives a signal, it's going to repeat it out, but it also puts it into the internet from there.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. So yeah, we do have that. I don't remember what the call sign is. It's a piece of equipment provided by the folks with the Chattanooga Amateur Radio
Yeah,
Club.
Gary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, lots. I mean, that's one thing we never really get a chance to talk about is the fact that Flagship does have a digipeater on it for APRS.
Well, it's nice to have because, Flagship is so strategically high and, central and North Georgia. So it probably picks up a lot of APRS packets that people are out there hiking or doing whatever and want to track where they are. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
neat.
So very good stuff. Well, let's go to the roster. Oh, before we do that, we need to take additional.
You want to take some check-ins?
Yeah. So
All right.
let's go ahead and do that. Let's open up check-ins for anyone using Zello. So if you're using a radio, would ask that you would hold your traffic for a few minutes. We'll leave an awkward pause for Zello check-ins so that Zello users have an opportunity to defeat the timeout penalty that you get from too many empty PTT activations. So we'll ask for Zello check-ins at this time. Zello check-ins only. Net control standing by.
This is Columbus 25 WSCC 901 checking in on Zello.
This is WSBW 526 Chattanooga 190 Cliff checking in on Zello.
That would be why. There we go. Is that the new computer in there?
Hmm?
Is that the new computer?
Mm-mm. It was just a monitor.
Oh.
Plugged into this computer. I run Node Manager and the YouTube live stream
So it's
chat
just
over
like an
here.
extra screen.
Yeah, just extra screen. It's portable, folds up.
Yeah, it's nice.
Use this little USB cable for power and data signal.
Cool. Who makes it?
An Amazon brand.
Okay.
I don't remember.
All right. Long and awkward pause there for those Zello check-ins. Let's go ahead and acknowledge Columbus 25, Peter in West Point is in with us tonight, and Chattanooga 190, Cliff in Culleoka, Tennessee.
You didn't even stutter that time.
Did I get it?
You did. Cliff's gonna be proud.
Maybe I've got it now. Probably not. We get too confident, and then I'll say it all wrong the next time. But those are our Zello check-ins. We'll continue with check-ins from any repeater other than Flagship, as well as Zello check-ins. Net control standing by.
is McDonald 22, WRCR 952. Go ahead and mark me in and out, gentlemen. I didn't know the topic when I checked in earlier, so I'm just going to listen.
This is WSAL 368, Atlanta 263, Rogers.
Sounds like Rogers.
In Dunwoody, I'm in and out on the Peachtree repeater.
He sounds good on that repeater.
Yes.
Where is he? Dunwoody? Okay.
Yeah.
This is 80, checking in and out on Katy Cove.
I didn't get the first part of that.
Checking in, checking out.
Is it Cades Cove 80, Roosevelt 80?
Net Control. Net Control, good evening. It's Whiskey Romeo Tango Sierra 814. It's Toccoa 33. It's WRTS 814. Matthew, Pickens, South Carolina. I didn't get the topic. I missed that part, but I'll be listening to see what it is. Maybe come back to me. I'll have a comment. As long as the RF side is working okay. Thanks for calling the net.
All right, let's go ahead and acknowledge this round of check-ins. We heard Atlanta 263 Rogers in Dunwoody as in and out. We also heard Toccoa 33. Matt in Pickens is in tonight. Matt, the topic tonight is Hamshack Hotline, Mesh-tastic, and other nerdy radio stuff. We talked a little bit about the Golden Packet.
APRS,
and yeah, in any other nerdy technology that we use with radio. So that's our topic tonight. Let me go ahead and take this opportunity and catch up on some of these YouTube check-ins that we've missed.
We've got a few.
We do have a few. So these are all obviously in and out because they're YouTube. But let me go ahead and start with Rome 112. Mark is a YouTube check-in. We have a guest check-in from WRYQ727. Miko in upstate New York. Ocala, Florida. We have Ocala 38. John. Actually, he's in Gainesville, Florida. Does that repeater reach Gainesville?
I don't think so.
Oh, but YouTube does.
He's checking in on YouTube, though.
But YouTube does. All right. So next we have Atlanta 770, James in Ackworth. We have Atlanta 927, Connie in Buford. We have CW14, Stephen in Watkinsville. We have guest check-in from WRZG694, Rick from Marietta. We have Atlanta 355, Damon in Canton. McDonough 64, Kathy in Jackson. Chattanooga 84, Jim in Hickson. Guest check-in from WRWB802, Larry in Colorado. WRNT 466. Oh, I don't need to read that. It's Chattanooga 181. Joseph in Cleveland is a YouTube check-in. Also, we have BR64 Side Salad. Melissa is checking in. And we have Atlanta 830. Arthur in Dawsonville is a YouTube check-in. Got a couple more here. We have Atlanta 910, Chris in Kennesaw. We have Chattanooga 69, the Velvet Elvis, Ronnie in Las Vegas, checking in and out. And finally, a YouTube check-in, we have WSEM 980, Lee. Oh, and then there's another one. Yeah, Lee.
Another one just appeared.
WSBS 374, Mark, another guest check-in. Those are the check-ins we have at this time. We'll take one more round of check-ins from any repeater anywhere, and we'll see where we land. Net control standing by.
This is Atlanta 451, WRTM 682, Mike and Tatum, checking in, checking out.
Colorado.
It is
Texas last week. It is coming in.
Checking in.
What was that tag called? 290? I was just saying.
Isaac. Yeah.
It sounded like Isaac and Mrs. Holt.
WSEM 980 Lee. I just did the YouTube check-in on the kids code repeater, checking in and out.
Yep.
This is Atlanta 958, WRYQ 766, checking in from Dawsonville. This is Mike.
This is
It did, didn't it?
This is Atlanta 810, WRNQ863, John, Dawsonville, checking in and out, but I do have an announcement. And by way of relay, Atlanta 810 and a half, Little John, also in Dawsonville. We're both mobile.
All right, let me go ahead and acknowledge this round of check-ins. If you didn't get checked in now, we'll take one final round of check-ins after we get through the roster, and that'll be your last chance for a check-in tonight. That'll come toward the end of the program. But let me acknowledge what we have. I believe we already called WSFH368 Mark in Woodstock. Maybe we didn't, but we have now, so... that's a YouTube check-in. Thanks, Mark, for that. That'll bring us next to Atlanta 451. Mike in Statham is in and out. Dallas 290, Isaac in Dallas, in and out. And we think we heard, by way of relay, Dallas 291, Mrs. Holt in Dallas, in and out. Atlanta 958, Mike in Dawsonville is in with us tonight. In Atlanta 810, what a nerd, John from Dawsonville. We'll come back to you here just momentarily with your announcement. And also Atlanta 810.5, John from Dawsonville is probably driving, I would guess.
John Jr.
Yeah. So good stuff. Glad to have you along. Also, we've got WSEU 345, Moses from Houston is YouTube check-in. And looks like one more coming in as we speak. We have a new member is Noonan89, Alex. And is that Hogansville? Is a YouTube check-in. Glad to have you along tonight. And let's go back. I want to check in because I know that there's a limited window of time. So I want to go back to Atlanta 810 and see what he might possibly have to make an announcement while he's driving home from, is it wrestling practice?
Well, good evening, Justin, and the rest of the net. We are mobile, headed home from wrestling practice, and then trying to get the kiddo ready for bed and ready for school tomorrow. Speaking of kiddos, we do have a kids net coming up in a couple of days on Saturday at 7 o'clock. Second Saturday of every month, or typically the second Saturday of every month. But it occurs to me that we may have some new members, and wanted to throw it out there that normally we try to arrange around the December time, contact with the North Pole and try to get a Santa net where we get Santa Claus straight from the North Pole involved and have him talk to the kids on our kids net. So we're still trying to get a hold of the North Pole. I've used my contacts to get a hold of Bernard, the head elf up there, and waiting on a phone call back from Bernard, and hopefully we'll be able to schedule something soon. But we are going to put a poll out on Facebook in the next couple of days to see how many kids would be interested in participating and talking to Santa. If we're able to coordinate something, obviously it's a very busy time of the year for Santa, and I'd love for him to be able to carve out some time to spend with us for a kids net, but I want to make sure that we're going to have the kids in attendance for him to carve out that time.
Oh, that's exciting stuff. I know that in the past, the Santa net has been just absolutely fantastic. The stories and the things that I've learned, lots of things that I didn't know with regards to the magic feather, the way that Santa makes his appearance at everyone's house. Questions. These are opportunities to get answers to all of those questions from the big guy himself. So we do coordinate with the head elf to get this to get all the moving pieces in place and to get the North Pole GMRS repeater activated. So that will take some effort again this year. But I'm glad to know that you're already making motions in that direction. Sometimes these things sneak up on us, and we're trying to put it all together at the last minute. But I think that's a great idea. If you have children or grandchildren that you would like to present the opportunity to speak directly with Santa.
Well, it was audio only, but there was a live stream of the Santa Net from last year.
Mm-hmm.
So that I'd forgotten about that. We should maybe bring that to the front of the heap and make that easy to find, or maybe even post a link to that video on our Facebook page. But and likely we'll have to see what the logistics are and what the North Pole has time for. So that's the challenge sometimes, is finding the right amount of time. And one of the questions that comes up is how many kids are going to be there? Because if it's just one or two, like if it's just Little John and Thomas, we're probably not going to coordinate a net. So, but if you have children or grandchildren and you think it'd be cool to have them speak directly with a real Santa on the North Georgia GMRS Network, this is a great resource that we have that we've been able to pull together in years past.
Well, I can say unequivocally that Blue Ridge 63.5 and Blue Ridge 65 had a great time on the net last year talking to Santa, and they will be participating again this year.
So there you go. There's two for the poll. How many do we need? Does Bernard has he given you any requirements, or are we still waiting to hear? Maybe you have some reference from last year. Go ahead, John.
No, so I have not actually made contact with Bernard yet. I have reached out to contacts to be able to get a hold of Bernard, and have been told that he will be reaching out soon. Of course, I know that this time of year is super busy as they're getting ready for the holiday season and, making toys and gathering all of the supplies that they need. And, I think even last year, as Santa was able to carve out some time and talk to us, he tried to step away from the workshop where they were building toys, but I think in the background you could still hear the elves hammering and using drill guns and building stuff. So it was kind of neat to be right there. I think even the time that Santa can carve out for us is still very busy, and he may be multitasking. But anyway, that's all I have, Justin. I have pulled into the driveway and need to get my little one ready for bed, but glad I was able to make the announcement. Like I said, we'll put a post out in a couple of days with a survey, and if we get enough response that correlates with my communication with Bernard, then we can get something set up and get a date and a time and everything finalized. So anyway, thanks again, guys. Everybody have a great week. We'll talk again soon. Atlanta 810 is clear. WRN Q863.
All right, good stuff. We're going to go ahead and show you as in and out in the logs so that you don't have to continue to monitor. But just as a recap, Saturday, this coming Saturday, 7 p.m., is the North Georgia GMRS Youth Net. This is a great opportunity to get our youngest family members engaged and involved in radio. And this is a wonderful opportunity to give them some hands-on experience before the day that Santa's on the air with them. So let's make a point of there's the information about what is the super coupon.
Don't just ignore that. I couldn't crop it out of the screenshot.
Okay, so that's the weatherproof case that the rest of the page is talking about the Kids Net this Saturday. So the two questions are going to be, what is your favorite Thanksgiving food, and what is something that you are thankful for? So those are the questions that Victoria will be asking during the Kids Net this Saturday. So like I was saying, this is a great opportunity for our kids to get some hands-on experience prior to talking with Santa. So I would encourage all of you to get your children and your grandchildren around the radio this Saturday at 7 o'clock. And stay tuned for the Facebook post for that poll to find out how many children we'll have that are interested in speaking to Santa directly. It's not the elves. It's not Mrs. Claus. You get a chance to have your kids talk straight to the big guy, and it's fantastic. It's one that you'll want a recording of to be able to play back for the rest of your friends and family when it's done. So our Santa is he's the best. So definitely a great opportunity. So with that, let's go ahead and head to the top of our roster. Have I acknowledged? Yeah, I've acknowledged everyone. See, looks like there was a Cades Cove check-in that we didn't get a full TAC number on.
That might have been Lee, WSCM 980. I did get him from YouTube, and I think he came back on RF. Okay. I'm gonna mark that check-in as confirmed. But
all right then. With that, let's go to the top of the roster. It looks like first we have Atlanta 575 Jason in Mableton. Jason, did you have any comments for the net tonight? We're talking about Hamshack Hotline and Meshtastic and APRS and any other nerdy radio things that you might be engaged in.
Yeah, I've actually been working on creating my own Meshtastic network in my neighborhood as kind of like a backup communications in case things go down, power, cell tower, things of that nature. I've got one, my wife's got one, and a friend of mine a few blocks over has a node, but I've also got, I'm calling it a gateway, but I've got a hub here at my house as well. So far, my wife and I tested it, and we were able to get we went 5 miles in opposite directions from our house. We were able to send messages back and forth, and it only took about 2 or 3 minutes for the messages to make it. So that's one of the projects I'm working on now. And a Hamshack thing I didn't know about. I'm definitely going to look into that. I'm kind of interested in that.
That's awesome.
No, yeah, the Hamshack hotline it's just a novelty, really. But so much of our nerdy little tech things are just that. Its actual usefulness is perhaps, the potential is there. So, for instance, we could open up a conference bridge and we could have a Hamshack hotline net, pretty much any time that we wanted. The other thing that's cool is there are some channels, some numbers that you can dial. I think they're in the 7,000 range. You dial like 7,001, 7,002, 7,003. And there are some old time radio. Have you ever listened to any of those?
I haven't, but I've heard of stuff like that out there.
Yeah, so there's some old time radio programs that back when radio, before television, when radio dramas were well acted and well performed. So there's a number of those recordings. You can just kind of punch that up on your phone, and you can have that playing in the background while you're surfing the web or while you're working or while you're whatever. It's a neat thing. It's novelty, but
there are some big conferences that go on. You can dial in and randomly stumble across these groups of people talking.
And that's how you end up talking to some guy in London. But yeah, it's a neat thing. The Hamshack hotline, I highly encourage it.
I don't know if you mentioned, but there is a caveat. Hamshack hotline does require an amateur license. Yep. It's not like Meshtastic.
That's right. It does, and they do not really support GMRS radio with the Hamshack hotline.
Yeah, you can't register the phone with the hotline unless you have a call sign.
A call sign. That's right. So I don't know that there's interconnectivity. Maybe there is. Yeah, I think there is interconnectivity with certain repeaters.
Probably.
There's lots of information online. You could explore to no end the Hamshack hotline thing. I got in early enough that I have a 5-digit phone number. I noticed that Jim, Chat84, had commented a phone number in the.
Was he in the? Was it 50,000?
He's got a 6-digit number. Yeah. So I don't know where the numbers are at now, but I have seen some 10-digit numbers, so that makes me think that maybe everything's a 10-digit number now. But if you've got one of the old 3, 4, or 5-digit numbers, you definitely want to keep that, because those are no longer being issued. Yours is 5 digits?
It is 5, and I don't know if you know this, but you might have had the same thing. I got an email from them saying, we noticed your phone wasn't registered online, and we're going to disassociate your number if you don't plug it back in.
Let's break. Yeah, that's right. I got that email as well, and probably it had been a couple of months since mine was plugged in. So Vanguard happens to have a really nice power over Ethernet switch, and so it's real simple to plug it in and let it play here for a day or two, and make it register on the network so that it preserves that number. I'm hoping that it has a prominent position once we get Studio B built, and that we may even feature some Hamshack hotline interactivity. Not sure. I'll have to explore the legalities of that. Interconnected phone might not be able to, but that could be good.
I was curious with the Meshtastic. Did how were you sending the messages? What kind of equipment were you using when he was just talking about the neighborhood? Is it a node to app, or how does that work?
Well, let's ask.
Yeah, on the Meshtastic site, there's an app that you can download for your phone. So the devices that I have are the Heltec V3s. They use Bluetooth. So you use the app, and when you first connect it to your computer, you download the software from their site, and that configures it, and you tell it whether it's a node or a gateway. So if it's a node, then with the software you download on your phone, it uses Bluetooth, and you can set up a name for it. You can do a little bit more fine-tuned configuring, but then you use the app, and it looks just like a regular messaging app in either iPhone or Android environment, and you just pick whoever you want to talk to. You type in the little message you want, you hit send, and then you sit back and wait.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's neat.
Yeah, that's cool stuff. So, building out your network in the neighborhood, are you installing repeaters? Are you installing equipment at neighbors' homes? How are you just getting your neighbors to do it? themselves? How do you approach that?
There's a couple of people in my neighborhood that are techies like me, so I told them about it, and they went online and ordered their own. You can get them at Amazon for like $20 for just a regular node. I told them, I said, hey, I know how to set it up, but if you want to try it, I showed them the website and where to go. If they had problems with it, I'd either go over to their place, they'd come to mine. But with the individual nodes, it just depends on the lay of the land. There's a lot of trees and stuff around my neighborhood, so usually I have to go through the gateway, because the gateway I have on a pole that's about 10 foot up above my roof, so it kind of looks out over the whole neighborhood. But when we're out and about on the streets where it's a little bit more wide open, it tends to be a little bit easier to send messages back and forth.
Very good. And I suppose that if you could get some of your neighbors to also install, a pole that's attached to the chimney or some high point on the house, and get several of these nodes elevated, then that may also improve performance and range on these devices. So cool stuff. Now I guess the next steps are to figure out who you can reach and what resources might be available from those various people in the event of a disaster. So similar stuff to what we do in the Simplex Challenge. I guess that's what you do to make that more of a tool than a novelty, and that potential is certainly there to be able to have a way of interconnecting. And if you can do it without the gateway, then you truly have an RF environment that's unlicensed, that is independent of infrastructure services. And I think that's what the attraction to Meshtastic is that it has that potential. It just requires a high level of adoption from everyday users. But if we can achieve that and have a certain saturation of users, then messages can be conveyed over tremendous distances. And but then again, you run into the how many users would just saturate the network with lots and lots of messages, and yours never gets through. So I'm not sure what the capacities there are. I do know it's a low power, long range communications protocol, but there are certainly caps to the bandwidth. Well, that's good stuff. Thanks for all of that. I appreciate your comments, Jason. Next on our list, we have high atop Mount Olympus. We have Zeus. Dana, Atlanta 250. Dana, what technologies do you see being useful to apply in nerdism along with the Simplex Challenge?
Well, good evening, and first and foremost, thank you, Justin, Jeff, and Mike, and I guess our guest there, Flip, for doing what you do. It's a good thing. Well, first I'm going to plug the Friday night at 9 Simplex Challenge, simply because Miss Kate forgot me. Every Friday night, starting at 8 p.m., early check-ins, 8:30, we'll kick off the net. Let me break. And what we do is pick 4 different frequencies, and actually what we're doing is testing your radio's reach in the world of Simplex. So that being said, I'm not into the Meshtastic, I'll say yet. I'm just now getting a lot of equipment for the 10 meter and 2 meter stuff. Let me break. But if I can, and I don't know if I'm out of bounds here, I would also like to say that if you're shopping for a new GMRS radio, people have seen my ads on the Facebook page for Hobbit Communications. All one word, 2 B's, 2 T's. Has everything from antennas to HDs to home, base, and mobile radios. Commercial grade stuff, folks. Good stuff. And with that, I'll hand it back to you.
Very good, Dana. And thanks for that reminder. And Hobbit Communications is, Hobbit Communications exists because so many times, and we see this played out over and over again. We buy the $25 Radiodity, the $30 Bofang, the $50 BTEC GMRS V1. We buy these inexpensive radios, and we begin using them, and only to find out that they don't sound very good. They don't perform very well. They're just not a high-end radio. And the performance issues become more and more real the more experienced you become as a user. There's such a proliferation of these inexpensive radios, and so we go from the one cheap radio to the next cheap radio to the next cheap radio, looking for performance that we're never going to get. So Hobbit Communications is there to provide high quality, high performance, affordable equipment that we can access because it's within a reasonable price range, and be able to stop with the cheap radios and make better use of our dollars. If you're one that has inexpensive radios and you're ready to move up to high quality radios, Hobbit Communications is definitely the way to go. There are other radio vendors out there. One of the challenges you might face with a company like HRO is they might just put you into a radio that is unfit for use on a GMRS network. I know that there are a couple of users that have had experiences with exactly that. Spend money on a radio, have it modified, only to learn after the fact that you can't return the radio because it was modified, and you're stuck with a radio that's not legal for GMRS use. So we definitely want to avoid people falling into that trap. Hobbit Communications, you'll end up with a Part 90 high quality commercial class radio that will perform, and 3-year warranty will last a very long time for you. So definitely encourage you to do that. Hobbit Communications can only be spelled right by spelling it wrong. 2 B's, 2 T's. All right, Dana, and thank you for that. Understand Meshtastic is not employed high atop Mount Olympus yet. But I imagine, that would be one of those elevation advantage locations that could serve the community pretty well. So kind of like putting APRS on flagship. It was put there because that location has such a big footprint, and it can collect APRS data from quite a long range away. Let's break.
Do have a follow-up comment.
Go ahead with a follow-up.
Oh, I forgot to say, talking about Hobbit Communications, that right now until the end of the year, you get free shipping plus 10% off of all purchases through December 31st with the promo code of GMRS.
Oh, that's fantastic. Free shipping and 10% off. So, when you combine that's a really outstanding deal. And what a great time to pick up an HT as a stocking stuffer. So, might be a little bit early, but I think that's a great opportunity to go ahead and get that. Because it's so early, you can time your purchase so that when it ships, it can be squirreled away without being recognized as to what it might be. So also you can arrange for pickup at the Hobbit store, so that's another option. But glad you brought that up. The promo code one more time, Dana, is
GMRS. I think we all have that in the back of our minds.
Yeah, you would think I'd be able to remember that, but I forgot to talk about the radio shop all to begin with, and then I forgot all about the the discounts for free shipping and 10% off. So I'm glad you brought that up. All right, Dana, thank you for all of that. With that, let's move on to Atlanta 780 Houston in Austell. I think Houston has a Hamshack hotline. I think he's also got some Meshtastic devices. I wonder what else Houston might have that we haven't heard about. Atlanta 780.
Hi, good evening, Justin, and the rest of the guys. Yes, sir, I have a Cisco 525G. Hamshack number is 12071, 12071. Luckily, I also have a 5-digit number. And I do have some Meshtastics. I don't have any of them hooked up now because I never could get a hold of anyone. Maybe I need to see if I can contact Mapleton with them since there's someone down there. We've also got the All-Star and DMR and got a few things working there.
Very good. So the All-Star and the DMR are both radio modes that you can access with your technician's license. So for those that are interested in going a little deeper into radio, we always encourage users to pursue the amateur radio license. And the technician's license is all you need to play in that DMR playground. So that's good stuff. All right, with that, let's continue on. Next on our list, we have guest check-in from WSEL 734. Is that Georgie Gregg, or am I reading that wrong?
I wrote it as he said it. Georgia Gregg.
Georgia Gregg. Okay. Georgia Gregg, do you have any comments for tonight's net?
This is WSEL 734. I was supposed to check in and check out, so you got me off guard.
All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and show you as in and out in the log, and thank you for coming back and letting us know. With that, we're going to continue on. Next, we have Atlanta 849, Pamela in Duluth. Pamela, did you have any comments for the net? And does Ernest have any experiments going on with APRS, Meshtastic, Hamshack Hotline, or any of the other nerdy radio and electronic stuff?
Well, thank you for those wonderful questions, Justin. You know, I'll answer them as best I can because Mr. 848 is out there doing that leaf blowing again. But, yeah, I know he's been dabbling in the Meshtastic and the DMR. He's had some conversations, I know, with Atlanta 240, who really wants to be into all this stuff right here because he wasn't able to join tonight because I didn't hear his number. But, yeah, he's dabbling that and all these digital stuff. And let me break. As far as the ham hotline, I haven't heard him mention it. I don't even know if he's aware of that. But I wrote it down to tell him so he can check that out. And I'm sure he'll get in touch with somebody and find out about doing that. It sounds very interesting. But let me break. Also, I want to say it was unique to hear Mr. Flip there tonight. I got to meet him at the Ham Fest, which was really nice, especially coming from beautiful North Druid Hills out here in my area. And I wanted to correct something about the luncheon for Saturday, November 16th. It's actually log. I mean, it's actually not log. It's actually JR's house, barbecue house restaurant. It's not log cabin. It's a Log House Restaurant.
All right, JR's Log House Restaurant. We'll have to see if we can find out more about that. And but when is your gathering then? I know that it's in front of me somewhere, but why don't you just go ahead and talk a little about when your gathering is and mention the name of the place again.
Okay, Justin, I appreciate the opportunity to do that. Julie and I tried to throw this together real quick at the last moment. We're having some computer issues, but it is JR's House Restaurant. It's I'm so used to thinking of log cabin because I'm so used to seeing that giant log cabin out there. When you Google it, it'll all come up. So whatever you put in the JR's, it'll come up. But it is November 16th, Saturday around noon, and that is at Peachtree Corners, which is right off of Peachtree Industrial. Sits way up on the hill there, and it's a real fun, laid-back place, rustic, inside, really friendly people, and they have plenty of room to accommodate however many we have. Let me break. So far, I've had call-out from at least, I think, 7, 8 or more people that are interested in coming if everything falls into place with their with that particular Saturday. Anything else?
Good looking menu.
All right, yeah, we're looking at it, and it is indeed JR's Log House Restaurant, and it looks like it's located at 6601 Peachtree Industrial Boulevard in Peachtree Corners, and I think that's a cool place. So if you're available on November 16, then join Pamela and Ernest at the JR's Log House Restaurant around noon, and have a chance to get together and have a meal together with some folks that you can visit with and get to know some of the voices that you hear on the network regularly. So good stuff, Pamela. What about nerdy gadgets? What's Ernest got going on? What's his next big thing?
I'm not even sure. I'm having a hard enough time keeping up with everything we're talking about tonight. Like I said, he is interested in the Meshtastic and the DMR. I know his radios can accommodate that, so it's just getting it all together and get with people. And also, Rome 12, Rome 1-2, was speaking with him recently and some other people about trying to get a QSO together to discuss this topic.
Very good. Well, yeah, it won't be long before that'll be a regular topic of discussion. So, good stuff, and that'll be a great, interesting conversation to have over the air as well. So, all right. With that in mind, let's continue on. Next on our roster, we have Chattanooga 30 Jonathan in Hickson. Jonathan, did you have any comments for the net tonight?
Justin, no, I do not have anything to say about Meshtastic. Kind of intriguing thing, but I've got too many hobbies and not enough time. And with that, I'll pass the mic on to the next person on the list.
All right, Jonathan, with that in mind, we'll continue on. Next on our list is Noonan 120, Carmine in Fayetteville. Carmine, did you have any comments for the net or any interest in Hamshack, Hotline, or Meshtastic, or any other nerdy radio stuff? You want to get involved in the Golden Packet project? Flip, do you have a date on when the next event's going to be?
It's July. I think it's the third weekend in July. I think it's the 20th, maybe, or the 21st. yeah, they set the date really early, just so again, trying to get everybody coordinated to be out there. So yeah, it's just one day, and there's a website, atgoldenpacket.net, I believe it is. We have to look it up here.
Mike's got it on the live stream already.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if you go there, you can register not only to receive updated notices, but also reach out and connect with the group that's going to go to Springer Mountain, which is, the closest one. So,
I would imagine there's a coordinated time. Is it a period of time? Is it a part of a day? Or?
Yeah. Well, you go up in the morning, and then, or if you're up there already for the night before, but. You need to have everything set up and ready to go, and actually beaconing out the packets as of a certain time. Usually it's 10 a.m. And then they do what they call AT Golden Packet Classic, which is when everybody has the same Kenwood radios to try to coordinate. So that's kind of the classic way of doing it. And then after a couple hours, then different people experiment with different types of apparatus is what they call it, but it's like Raspberry Pis with TNCs, on top of them and stuff like that. That'll allow for the communication between the digital and the RF. And then other people are always entering or eye-gating the data into the internet, so that there's a couple of people that coordinate. One guy down in Florida actually, who coordinates all the traffic, just follows and makes sure. If there's something that could be tweaked or changed or corrected to help the packets along. So yeah.
Oh, very good, very good. Well, with that, let's see if Carmine has any comments for the net tonight.
Was I around the website?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you were.
All right, no response from Noonan 120. Let's continue on with WRZY 312 Ron in Locust Grove. Ron, did you have any comments for tonight's net? All right, we're going to show Ron as in and out and continue on to our next check-in, which is Chattanooga 190 Cliff in Culleoka, Tennessee. Cliff, did you have any comments for tonight's net?
This is Chattanooga 190, and yeah, you got it right, Culleoka. Yay! I am a Hamshack hotline person. 5749. I've been at it a while.
Nice.
Wow.
I don't have a Meshtastic, but I'm intending to get one going. Several guys in our ham club have. I've just heard of something recently called Rattlegram, and it's a combination of any kind of radio and your phone. Your phone makes, you type a text in, your phone makes a packet sound, your radio picks it up, the other guy's radio listens to it, and his phone decodes it. So it's interesting. I just started on that, Rattlegram, like rattlesnake, only as a matter of, and that works with Android or the other one, mine, iPhone. Other than that, I got a call, so I got to get back into work. Thanks for running the net, and Chattanooga 190 WSDW526 is clear.
Very good. All right, Rattlegram. I'm going to have to explore that. That sounds like that's very interesting. So his description kind of puts in mind, do you remember back when you would get the CD in the mail and you put that in your computer, and then you became
You get a virus.
Forever ingrained with AOL.
Oh, yeah.
Dial-up internet. Mike, do you even remember dial-up internet?
Yeah, I do.
It sounds a little bit like the handshake, that used to go on between the, that digital sound.
Well, we all got to know that sound very, very well.
Yeah.
And so that was an age.
That was when internet access was regulated by hours, not data capacity, like bandwidth or throughput. It was, you would get 40 hours of AOL or 100 hours when they ran a promotion.
I'd forgotten about that, but that's correct.
Yeah. It was printed on the CD.
Yeah. Well, how many of us would use up that time and then create a new account?
Wait for the next CD, yeah.
We could start all over again. So I know that I would be guilty of that a few times. And but, I also had the AOL account for, I don't know. It was so difficult to cancel. I might still have an AOL account. I'm pretty sure I'm not paying for it, but I don't think they ever really let you go. And I don't know where you would even go to find out now, because is there even an operating website?
I think so. AOL.com.
Yeah.
I haven't looked, but I did find the information on Rattlegram. To Cliff's point, it looks interesting. Your phone.
Everybody gets an app, and then
you key in your UTF-8 texts into the phone, and it makes the da-da-da-da-da sounds, whatever it is, and you're transmitting that sound.
So it's like a rotary phone.
Yeah.
Do you know what that is?
I do. I'm not that young.
Well, I think he's probably the youngest in the room, but I'm not sure.
I remember the days of dial-up, and we talked about pulse and tone dialing last week.
Yep, that's right. And the Captain Crunch whistle.
Oh, yeah, for free long-distance calling.
Yeah, that's right. All right, when it comes to nerdy radio stuff, I think we cover the bases pretty well. But with that, let's go ahead, and I'm going to say thanks to Cliff, and appreciate you hanging out with us, and get back to work. Somebody's got to do it. Obviously, I'm not. But we'll continue on with Toccoa 33, Matthew and Pickens. Matthew, did you have any comments for the net tonight?
Good evening, guys. WRTS 814 Toccoa 33. Before I ramble on, how's my connection still holding out?
Yes, sir. There is some white noise in there, but you're fully readable, so I'd call that a good connection. Go ahead with your traffic.
Great topic. I like nerdy stuff. Hamshack Hotline was a blast. It was pretty cool. I do have it here, and we should post a Hamshack side directory for numbers. If you think that's a good idea or not, but just a thought. That being said, WinLink. Now there's something that's pretty cool. Although it's such old technology, truthfully, it is. I'll have to say, pretty cool though. I just got all set up on that not too long ago, and being able to send email via HF or VHF radio or HF radio is a cool thing, and it really did play a major part in this North Carolina rescue and relief effort here that has occurred, still ongoing actually, although I think a lot of internet connections have been reset there. A lot of internet connections have been restored, of course, but still playing a part though. So just a cool thing. And again, that's something you need to be an amateur for as well, but data over voice radio, very cool.
Oh yeah, and when it comes to things like a natural disaster, like what happened in Tennessee and North Carolina, there are a number of opportunities that we have to demonstrate our radio skills and technology, but at the same time, if you have the hardware, if you have a radio that's capable of performing some of these tasks, but you've never done it before, when stuff goes sideways, it's kind of too late, because you've got a learning curve, you've got configurations, you've got setup, you've got all kinds of things that have to be dealt with and taken into account in the heat of the moment. So when you have these technologies, I think the best practice is always to get out and put them into play. And if you're anything like me, it's not really enough to do it once. You've got to continue using that at least periodically, so that you don't kind of forget how to configure this and forget how to make things work. You kind of have a enough of an experience with the protocol and the technology that you're just you're going to be able to come through when the time comes. So
what with WinLink, did you do that with HF at all? And if you have been successful, what's the furthest away that you've been able to communicate with someone on that?
How many FARs?
I'm waiting for it, I like it. Truthfully, it's probably, well, I'm looking at domestic locations. I think I did one that was 499 miles away. I want to say that was, it was in the Northeast, Virginia, something like that, maybe. But I don't remember the band. I'd have to look at the log. But it was a daytime hookup, so it was probably on 20 or 40, probably 40. You do have to practice this stuff. There's no doubt, because you're absolutely right. It's like anything. So training, and just doing it. And I try to do it, once every so often. I'll send some emails either to myself or somebody else. But the VHF side's pretty easy. It's pretty easy, actually. I've been using that technology in an airplane for 50 years. But the VHF is interesting, because if you really do get a widespread internet outage, here, what happened a little over a month ago was spotty. The area is out, and then, those areas that still had it. So you didn't have to travel that far to get into an internet connection. But, they're not on the same as the phone frequencies. They tend to vary off the phone spectrum a little bit. So you got to make sure you tune it up good before you do it. And then it works. It's just using Vera right now. So that's free, which is nice. Vera FM and Vera HF for the links. Works pretty good, guys. Pretty cool.
Very nice. Well, I think that's something we should, as amateurs, we should be experimenting and playing with and learning about, and just one more chore that I have, I guess. But as soon as I get around to it. All right. Well, thank you, Matthew. And with that, we're going to continue on. We have next Atlanta 958 Mike in Dawsonville. Mike, did you have any comments or questions for the net?
No mic.
All right, and hearing no response from Atlanta 958, we're going to continue on. That brings us actually to the end of our current roster. So with that in mind, we're going to take one final round of late check-ins. And any questions or comments, anything that got missed along the way, now's your chance. Net Control, standing by.
This is WRQ G806, Atlanta 557 and Atlanta
relay, by way of relay, checking in and out.
Atlanta 849 with a question.
3, Atlanta 499, checking in and checking out.
I think I doubled that. I have a comment, Atlanta 849.
All right, with that, we're going to go ahead and acknowledge this last round of check-ins. We have a YouTube check-in from Atlanta 519, Gary in Marietta. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight, Gary. Glad to have you along. Also, we've got Atlanta 557, Ed in Kennesaw, in and out. Atlanta 558, Denise in Kennesaw, in and out. Atlanta 499, Philip in Ackworth, in and out. And that brings us to Atlanta 849, Pamela, with a comment. Go ahead, Pamela.
Okay, gentlemen, been quite an interesting net. I was listening to Matthew to code 33, and I couldn't quite, is it win something? I couldn't quite catch what the name of whatever y'all were talking about just then.
I don't remember exactly what it's called.
WinLink.
WinLink, that's right.
Packet email.
Yeah, so the technology is known as WinLink, and it is basically a email over amateur radio protocol, and so it's digital messaging with the opportunity to address an email message, and it looks a lot like just a regular email message that comes to you through the WinLink. So
it's software based, and it sends the digital package over the radio frequency.
So it's a way of passing internet messaging as an email without the actual internet. And so your ranges are going to be consistent with what you can do in amateur radio. What band do they typically operate that in? Is that across most of the HF bands, or
I
is
think
that
there's a segment in all the various ham bands?
So it can have considerable range depending on conditions and et cetera. But yeah, it's an amateur radio protocol, and so obviously our GMRS license isn't going to get us there. But around 40% of our membership are licensed amateur radio operators, so there's plenty of opportunity for our members to engage in activities like WinLink and APRS and some of the other amateur radio related things. And if you're interested in Hamshack Hotline, it's not hard to come by. As mentioned earlier, you can buy the phones on eBay and Amazon, and they're used phones. But I can't remember what the model number that Houston said he has, but he's got the good one with a color display. Mine's just got the monochrome LCD
Mine's
display.
just a Cisco digital internet phone.
Is it the 550?
525, I think, is what Houston has. I have the 504. And so there again, this is not something that you're going to call your family and wish them happy holidays, unless your family are all hams. But it is a kind of a cool thing, and I think probably we will make some sort of a Facebook post and talk about our Hamshack hotline phone numbers. So look for that to come up tonight or tomorrow, and you just comment your number in there if you want to, and if you don't want to, I'm going to put my number up there. But understand two things. We're in a kind of a transient state right now with Vanguard and not having a permanent studio environment. So there's a lot of toys that are stuffed in boxes around here that I hope to have broken out and back in action once we put Studio B into play. And the Hamshack hotline is one of those. I keep the phone somewhat handy so I can plug it in and maintain the registry on it. But if you call me, pretty good chance I'm not going to answer or return the call. So
or even know that you called.
Right. So maybe that was perfect. Maybe that's a number that you can dial, and you can hear whatever stupid voicemail thing that I left 3 years ago when I 4 years ago when I set that up. So it's a neat thing. Lots of cool stuff. Let's break. But WinLink, I think, Pamela, is what you're looking for, and you should be able to Google that and get lots of information. And of course, there will be plenty of folks on the GMRS network that can discuss WinLink and help you out with any details that you need. I don't use WinLink. I never have. Probably should learn it. Because you never know when the time will come when that is what's available for communication when conventional networks fail. So there you go. Well, with that, I think we're going to close this one out. Flip, did you have anything you wanted to add?
I don't think so. It's been a good talk about different nerdy stuff. It's been fun.
All right. Well, thanks for coming and hanging out with us this evening, being a guest on the North Georgia GMRS Regional Net.
Absolutely.
Glad to have you along. All right. Well, then I'm going to say this concludes the North Georgia GMRS Regional Net. Tonight we had a total of
73.
73 chickens, including
73 chickens.
net control. We will now be returning the repeaters back to normal use. Everyone who signed in should sign out. Don't forget to like and subscribe and remember to comment on the YouTube video. It shows engagement and helps the channel to grow. Thank you for allowing us to serve as your net control this evening. Good night, everyone. This is Atlanta 946 WQIR 514. My name is Justin.
And WREB 450, Atlanta 26, Flip.
And Blue Ridge 63, WRWM 344. My name is Mike.
And Atlanta 750, WRMR 367. My name is Jeff.
We are North Georgia GMRS Network.
And we are clear. Good night, everybody.
Good night, folks.
Good night.
Hey, hey, hey. Bye.